Well, hey, you, and welcome back to episode 7 of the Miss Michaela Mae Show. I'm your host, Miss Michaela Mae, and as always, I have my corgis, Tank and Willie, here with me. So if you hear some paw prints, it's probably a corgi. And before we get started, if you're on video, I have to show you this cute sweatshirt my best friend got me. It says Dog Mom, which is already adorable, but then it says Willie's name on it. And then for those of you that are new to me and new to my animals, Tank is kind of my, what I call my foster dog. So Willie is my dog and Tank is actually my sister and her boyfriend's dog, but I'm the only one that works from home and I actually now live a couple hours away from them. So I primarily have Tank and then, but he is technically their dog. It's an interesting situation. But so I have Tank and Willie, but Willie is my dog, so that's why only Willie's name is on my sweatshirt. But I just thought it was adorable, so I had to share it with you. But today we're going to talk about a continuation of episode 2. So if you've not listened to episode 2, I actually do recommend you go back and start there because I was in the shower this morning, and I don't know about you, but I feel like some of my best ideas always come to me while I'm in the shower. And so I really wanted to extrapolate on the Taylor Swift can change and so can you. And while I was thinking about it in the shower, and whenever I always say in the shower, I think of that scene from Legally Blonde where she kept saying, but you were in the shower, because that was when she was putting together that she couldn't have been in the shower because of the perm, because her curls were still intact for the something like Lockolade or whatever that is in that scene. And so while I was in the shower, in Reese Witherspoon's voice, you have to say it in Reese Witherspoon's voice or it's not quite as clever, in my opinion, but that's how I hear it in my head. I was in there and I was thinking actually a more proper way to say the point that I was trying to convey is Taylor Swift can discover different parts of herself and so can you. And so I wanted to take this concept again. If you want to hear the foundation of it, go back to episode 1 and really build on it. Because while I was in the shower, and this is while it occurred to me, I was looking down at my stomach and I've had this, I think it's called like a treasure trail, but I've had a treasure trail of hair since I was at least in 3rd grade, if not 2nd grade. And I think I was thinking about it and it dawned on me, and this is why I wanted to extrapolate on this episode. The reason we don't realize the difference between the trauma self and the true self is because the trauma self starts to kick in at such a young age. And the reason why it occurred to me when I was looking at my stomach this morning is because one of the things that I keep coming back to over and over again is we can lie to ourselves. Like the mind can lie to us. Our emotions are just can be so quick. I actually don't believe our emotions are lying to us, but the feeling gets translated to the mind. And that's kind of where the fable can be, if you will. The body does not lie. The body wants to heal. And so when we start to learn, and this is something I'm more going to go into on the Western Hippie podcast, but when I do feel episodes can be on either one, I will cross post them because it is really powerful to learn the language of the body. And that is something I've been learning the last 5 years is what are these patterns and how do we translate them? And then how do we heal them? Because the body ultimately wants us to heal. So for example, someone can tell me that they're not hard on themselves, that they're really nice to themselves, that they are encouraging of themselves. And I know that and there can be a couple different things. So I'll extrapolate on that as well. But I know if they have really bad acne or if they're overweight, and overweight can be a safety issue or it can be beating up on yourself. Acne is primarily picking at yourself. Like if you think about like picking at your skin. And so if someone has acne, really severe acne or is severely overweight, I know they're very hard on themselves. So they can tell me whatever they want to. I know the body doesn't lie. And it's not that I think they're lying. I think the mind can diminish things because the mind's job is to protect us and keep us safe. And if the mind's perception is, well, it's safer for you to have this weight on you, it's safer for you to have this acne on you, it's going to tell you you're okay because it doesn't want you to heal it because it believes you're safer with it than without it. And a lot of this we'll discover today. And if you listen to the first episode, a lot of this does come back to safety, if not all of it comes back to safety and making sure we're safe enough to heal these things. Because again, if the mind doesn't perceive us as safe enough to release these things, then spoiler alert, they're not going to go away. Which is, if we go into in this the Miley Cyrus episode, I talked about this. So also go back and listen to that if you haven't. But I talk about our personal kryptonite. And that's one of the reasons our personal kryptonite can be so hard to release and so hard to let go of, is because it's also linked to whatever made us feel the most unsafe in our own personal lives and past. And so, long story long, as I do, I'm looking down at my stomach and I'm realizing, like, oh my gosh, I've had this since I was 7 or potentially 8 years old. And in the Body Doesn't Lie, what I'm seeing is, and one of the things that I'm currently working on healing in my own life, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically, is feeling more feminine and feeling safe being in the feminine. And that hair symbolizes I've been in my masculine energy for a very long time. And even at that point, if someone would have asked me if I was in my masculine energy at 7 to 8 years old, I would have said no, but back to the Body Doesn't Lie. And so I know from this, like, treasure trail, pun intended, if I follow this treasure trail back to the X marks the spot, I have been in my masculine energy for a very long time, because this thing has been telling me, this thing is symbolizing. And it's so interesting, these memories that we have, because I remember laying in the bathtub, and I went through puberty very young and started clearly going through puberty very young, and remember looking down at my stomach. And of course, like, obviously I would like it to not be there. And I would also like, the energy to shift the other way emotionally. When I say energetically and emotionally, they're a little bit different, but they're mostly the same thing, because emotions are energy and motion. So when I look at the emotion behind it, it's like, okay, I would really like it to go away, because that also symbolizes I've been able to heal and release this thing and change the pattern of this masculine energy that I have. So yes, of course, I would love for it to go away. However, it doesn't. It was quite traumatic from a 7 to 8 year old's perspective. It was quite traumatic, because girls aren't supposed to have hair there. And so then, of course, I start to think that there's something wrong with me, because all these other girls don't have a treasure trail. Only guys have that. And, so the story begins. And so once that story begins, especially at that age, and we tell that story. So I'm 7 or 8 years old. I'm 30 now. I almost said 28 now. I'm 30 now, and I'll take 28 though. And however long that story's been playing, well, of course I'm going to start to believe it, because, if think it was Hitler, you tell a lie long enough and people forget that it's a lie. They start to mistake it for the truth. And that's what happens to ourselves. Like, we start to believe the lie. And so now we have to follow that treasure trail back. And so with this being a part 2 of the Taylor Swift thing, and why I wanted to reword it a little bit to not the Taylor Swift can change, because there are parts, even in traumatic situation, there are parts that we discover about ourselves. For example, within trauma, we can discover that we do have this strength that maybe we wouldn't have discovered without it. This resiliency, this honestly, trauma's taught me a lot of compassion that I don't know that I would have had without it. And these were qualities that were arguably always innate within in me, but these circumstances helped bring them out. And so even within the trauma, we were still discovering parts of ourselves. But then when we drop back down into safety, we can just start to discover all these other new parts that have been undiscovered for a very long time. And so with Taylor Swift, that was one thing that I talked about in part 1 of this. In episode 2 of this, is she can change and be this other person. And then as I was thinking about it today, it's like, well, she's also just discovering this, and I think people expect her to have all of these things figured out. But at the end of the day, she's just a human too, and has never been in a relationship with Travis. And when we I want to say the word like coincide with a different person, of course, we're going to start to discover different parts of ourselves. And that's what I feel like we're seeing what she's doing in real time. And like I said, in the ending of the other episodes, how do we learn from these people and apply it to our own lives? Because there's a reason that we're drawn to people. There's a reason we're drawn to certain circumstances. And the reason is almost always because something that they're teaching us, something that they're showing us, applies to our own lives in some way, shape, or form. And so with all of that, I ask you, what part of yourself do you want to discover? And even more importantly, what kind of environment do you need to create for yourself so that you can start to discover these different parts of yourself? Because as we're seeing with Taylor, this is my hypothesis and my um theory, if you will, on it, is there's a safety she is feeling with Travis that she has never felt before. And therefore, it's allowing all of these parts to come out. We always want to go for the root and let it's like cause and effect, right? We want to look for the root, we want to look for the cause and let the effects just happen. So, what we need to cause, what we need to create to discover these parts of ourselves, if you're someone who has been in fight or flight for a very long time, similar as myself, this is what I'm working on, is like, how do we create safety and then just allow these parts to come, and then also allow ourselves to be surprised by maybe becoming someone we never thought we would become. I told you in the first episode, becoming a Swiftie, even the word Swiftie coming out of my mouth as a descriptor to me, myself, and I was not a part of the 2025 bingo card. And I had a moment and I was like, Michaela, allow, like, if this is for some reason you're just drawn to this music and you want to listen to this music and you want to play My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys on repeat, have fun. Like, that's why we're here anyways, to like have fun, explore, adventure, and allow this to be an adventure. And if the adventure only lasts for 6 months, oh well, you had fun listening to the music. And I have learned, clearly we're on 2 episodes of this, a lot from Taylor Swift because of this adventure. And I think one of the other things like I'm going to learn from her, and I will share with you as I learn, is like, how do you take certain criticisms and use them as fuel? How do you, and I do think I talked about this in episode 1 or part 1, episode 2, is how do we be so secure in who we are that we're essentially the calm in the storm? People can throw anything at us and we think and believe and can hold, I know who I am and that's what matters. Who you think I am is none of my business. Who I know I am, that is my business and that is my job. So with all of that today, take anything that I said that stuck out to you the most and explore, discover, and ask yourself, like, what kind of environment do I need to create so that I can discover this part of myself? Because we can go treasure hunting all day long, but if we're on an island where the treasure, I'm thinking of Hawaii because there's so many different islands just right there, and it's islands that I know. But if the treasure is on Kauai, I think it's Kauai, correct me, I've never been to Hawaii, but I'm using it as a metaphor. So here we're for the ride. You can be on Maui all day long and you're not going to find the treasure. You have to go to the environment, create the environment that will allow you to find the treasure. So I think that's the question I'm going to leave us all with today. What kind of environment do we need to create to discover the treasure we are searching for? I like that. So I'm it's so interesting. I'm not used to having these shorter and sweet episodes because this is new for me. This is a new adventure. This is a new discovery. I'm used to talking for sometimes an hour because I'm teaching on a subject, and when I teach I'm very long-winded, where these are more of my like random thoughts. But again, this is an adventure, this is a discovery, so I'm getting used to this newness, this new concept, these little short and sweet like tidbits. These were the thoughts I was thinking in the shower, because I thought it would be fun to have a routine of like, oh, this is what I'm thinking of in the shower, let me go make an episode, and maybe this will be a daily show. So I'm in the discovery just as much as you are. I'm so thankful you're here and we're in this discovery process together. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Miss Michaela Mae Show. I'm your host, Miss Michaela Mae, here with my corgis, Tank and Willie. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And if you feel so called, I would absolutely love for you to leave a review letting me know what you loved, what you want to hear more of, or just a discovery that you are discovering as well. Until next time, we will talk to you later.